Hello and welcome to Picture a Better Tomorrow, brought to you by Kanawha County Schools TV, Suddenlink Communication, and the United Way of Central West Virginia. I'm John Ballingy, and we hope that you had a blessed and relaxing Christmas holiday. Here we are already in the second week of the new year. And you know, New Year's are all about change. We make resolutions, we change the way we eat, we change the way we exercise, maybe we change the way we work. Maybe even we change the way we sleep. And one of the things that is potentially changing is the allocation process and the application process for funding through United Way of Central West Virginia. So I'm joined today by Lisa Hudnall, who is the Director of Community Services for United Way of Central West Virginia, and Marie Beaver, who's the Executive Director of the Ray of Hope House. So ladies, thanks for being here. So Lisa, we talked about change. 2017 is change. We're right in the middle of, or starting I should say, the whole application process for now 2018 funding. Typically it happens this time of a year. Why is that a change?
So in 2016, United Way Board of Directors commissioned a needs assessment, and through surveying our donor base, community members, experts in the field, service providers, a look at what the needs are, primary needs are in the community, where the service gaps are, where United Way funding currently is. It was determined that perhaps our organization needed to be a little bit more responsive to those needs and to just some gaps that we currently were not funding. So based on that whole process, our board approved a little revision to our allocations process where we are able to now open up our funding to other nonprofits in our 5-county service area that are able to submit a letter of intent and what their program would offer and what outcomes they're able to obtain, success stories, and ask for funding.
So the change is the opening of opportunity, funding opportunities, right, to any 501c3 regardless of what they do?
It's any 501c3 in the health and human services area. Our impact areas are education, financial stability, income, and health and safety net.
Okay, so if you fit into one of those categories,
yes,
then potentially you could qualify for funding. Right. So is it a could or is it a does qualify for funding?
So it's a could. We have a letter of intent process. We have everything on the United Way website that an interested nonprofit can look at, all the funding guidelines, the priority areas, and the outcomes that the board has approved. And so they would submit a letter of intent. Those are due on January 11th. And once the letter of intents are received, we have a volunteer committee. It's our allocations committee, our community services committee, and community members that is all volunteer that will read those letters of intent. And the applicants that are most closely aligned to United Way, the impact areas, will then be invited to submit a full application.
So if you're out there watching and you're interested in applying for United Way funding, remember that this show airs the week of the 9th of January, so the 11th is the day. So if you're watching this on Monday or Tuesday, you need to hurry because it's the 11th is the deadline for the letter of intent. So if I remember correctly, and we had Steve Hewitt on the show in an earlier episode, and he was talking about the expansion. And one of the areas that United Way reached out to was, or decided to reach out and fund, is the whole substance abuse and prescription and illegal drug situation that we're faced with, not only here in the Kanawha Valley, but throughout West Virginia. So Marie, as the Executive Director of Ray of Hope, you are one of those recipient agencies during 2017 for the first time. So tell us a little bit about Ray of Hope and that whole interest level that you had in funding through United Way.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank the United Way for giving us an opportunity, and I'm delighted about the changes in the needs assessment so that it gave us an opportunity to apply for funding that really helps us. Ray of Hope is a home for women in recovery from drug and alcohol addiction and their minor children. We have 2 phases. We have one phase where they come for 6 months after they have successfully completed a treatment program. Somewhere they have to have at least 30 days sober when they come to Ray of Hope. And then after 6 months, if they meet all our criteria, then they're eligible to go into our apartments where they can stay for 2 years with their children. And we've had a lot of women be able to be reunited with their children and regain custody because they're still in a supervised setting. We've had a very successful program. We opened in 2005. We've had over 300 women from 44 counties in West Virginia come through our program. And you know, we've gotten a lot of support. We've grown a lot. From our first house had 10 beds. We opened that, and now we have 4 properties. We have 2 houses that are staffed 24/7, and we have 9 apartments.
So from a funding perspective at Ray of Hope, just give the viewers a kind of a broad perspective about where your funding comes from, because that's a lot of growth in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, our budget has probably tripled over the last, since the day we opened. And our single biggest funder is the Department of Health and Human Resources, and that's where we get, the majority, I would say about 50% of our funding. And we go through, we provide services, so we bill for those. The women pay to be there. As part of our mission is for them to be self-sufficient. So we bring in our own generated income. We have a fundraiser once a year. We have private foundations, private donations, small grants, and then now we're able to add the United Way, to that list of resources for us and income that will be helping provide a lot of needs that we have. And one of them through the United Way was to help with what we call now a recovery coach, and it's having people that are in recovery helping and being like a role model and a guide for the women that are coming in and helping, getting them set up with their meetings and all the things that we require of them to do.
The whole recovery concept is pretty important, and it's long term. So you've got some experience with recovery.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, I had my last drink or drug February 12th, 1985. So I was only 2 years old. No, yeah, I've got almost 32 years, clean and sober, and I've been working in the field for 31 years. I'm very grateful that God gave me the opportunity to be able to take my mistakes and use them to help other people.
So when you hear ladies going through the program saying, "I don't think I can do this," you have firsthand experience that yes, you can.
Yes, and we hire our graduates because we think it's important to model that behavior for these women, to see that yes, you can, and put a face on recovery. We hear so much in the news about all the bad stuff, everything, the drug addiction, the overdoses, and there's families that are being ripped apart, and it's a lot of heartache out there because of this disease. But people do get better, and they can get better. And I'm living proof, and I got a lot of women that are living proof of that. But everybody that works at Ray of Hope is in recovery, except for our bookkeeper. I don't know if that was by design or an accident, but everybody there is in recovery. So we model every day. We're showing them that women can get up and go to work and take care of a family and do what they need to do and stay clean and sober. And I tell the women that I don't ask them to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. I still go to recovery meetings. I do what I'm supposed to do to take care of my disease. Just because I haven't used in almost 32 years does not mean that I'm well. I'll always have this disease, and I need to take care of it, just like any other disease.
Sure, that's great. So Lisa, back to the application process. So it seems like that United Way would just be inundated with applications from a variety of 501c3 nonprofit organizations in the 5-county area that United Way of Central West Virginia serves. So how do you take care of all those things as one person?
Well, the great part about that is that we have a volunteer base that reviews all the applications. And in fact, this year, with the potential of an increased number of applications coming in, we would welcome and are recruiting for additional volunteers to help out. So if somebody were to be interested in the United Way work, interested in education, health, income, financial stability in those areas in our community, and would have extra time, would be willing to read the applications, discuss those with a group, and come up with some decisions around that, potentially make site visits to some of the programs like Ray of Hope and others that have applied. We would, love to have those volunteers to come on board and help us out.
Yeah, so I really wasn't trying to set you up by asking that question, but I think it's important to continually talk about the fact that volunteers make the decisions, they review the applications, they do the site visits, they have the discussion with executive directors like Marie and others, and they do all of the behind-the-scenes work, including the recommendation to the volunteer board of directors for future funding. So the volunteer base that we've created and recruited is extremely important to that process.
Exactly. My role is really to just make them as effective as possible so that they can go out and do the reviews and make the decisions.
So Marie, one of the things that I hear talked about at community services meetings and the fund allocation meetings is that United Way wants to use donor dollars to fund agencies that do basically two things: meet a significant need in the community and do it in the most efficient way possible. So relative to the application process, do you find that to be easy, hard, middle of the road? You probably apply to a variety of different places.
I have had experience with a lot of different types of grants, and I felt like this was a very fair process. I felt like they were really interested in what we do and our outcomes, which are important because that's always been important at Ray of Hope. We want to be effective not just when they're there. We want our program to be effective and have an impact on these women's lives when they're not there anymore. It's a lot like parenting. You do your best when your kids are there and you hope that they're going to make really good decisions when they leave. And that's what we do. We want to make sure that we're having an impact down the road. And through that grant process, it helps us look at our own internal, like what are we looking at, and keep on top of those kind of things and the impact that we're having in the community, not just on the individual women's lives, but there's a ripple effect. From one drug addict or alcoholic affects a lot of lives, whether it's their family, co-workers. If your child is addicted, you're not concentrating all the time when you're at work. It affects the people you work with. When you're dry, there's just so many levels, and it's the same when somebody gets well, when they get into recovery. That person in recovery affects so many lives, and so the impact of what we're doing is one of the most important aspects, I feel like, of your grant process. Is holding people accountable and holding agencies accountable for what they're doing and being good stewards of the money that you're giving us to use.
Yeah, we've heard that in the discussions after the site visit, that not only the information but also the interest that the review teams have in the individual applications and applicants is extraordinary, really. They learn a lot.
Yes.
And they're able to then share that information with other people in the community, so it's a little bit of a ripple effect. And the successes are extremely important because people like to be successful and they like to follow success.
Yeah.
So Lisa, one more time, what's the deadline for the letter of intent? It's this week.
Yep, letter of intent's due by 4 p.m. on January the 11th.
And if people are interested in kind of nosing around and seeing how the whole application process works, they can go to the United Way website.
And right on our front door, there's a box that I believe says, "Does your agency need funding?" They click that box. It'll have all the information that they need, including the letter of intent form, the guidelines, the priority funding areas, and our overall allocation process.
And that website is www.unitedwaycwv.org.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. So Marie, you're getting ready to apply for 2018 funding.
Yes.
So you're on board. Have you hit that January 11th deadline already?
Oh yeah, I hit mine in December. I don't like to wait till the last minute. I want to make sure my name gets thrown in the hat as early as possible.
My dad used to say, if you can't be on time, be early. So,
Exactly.
So thank you for doing that, because I'm sure that helps the whole process. So thanks both of you all for being here. This has been a great discussion about the change of funding through United Way, the door opening, if you will, to other 501c3s in the organization, or in the community, I should say. Marie, congratulations for your first year of funding through Ray of Hope, connected to United Way, and we're certainly hopeful that at some point we might help put you out of business. I think that's the ultimate goal. That's a long-term project, but that's the ultimate goal.